In this video, we will factor out the greatest common factor of a polynomial. Now, we saw in an earlier video the polynomial 4x to the fourth minus 12x squared plus 24x. And in that video, we worked to find the greatest common factor of this polynomial. And we saw that this polynomial has a greatest common factor of 4x. Now, you might think, well, how does that help? How is that going to help us simplify this polynomial? Well, this looks a little intimidating, this polynomial. So what we will do is, since there is a 4x in every one of these terms, we've already established that, we will divide that 4x out of each term, and we'll put it in the front here, and we'll see how this simplifies this polynomial. We'll put that down here. So let's do some division. We have 4x to the fourth, and we're going to divide out this 4x in a sense because we're going to pull it out of this term and place it outside the parentheses. So let's do numbers first. We have 4, but we are dividing out of 4. So 4, if we divide out of 4, we're just left with 1. So we won't write the 1. We'll move on to the x to the fourth. X to the fourth, but we're going to divide out x to the 1. So x to the fourth divided by x to the 1 will give us x to the third. So this first term, once we divide out the 4x, is x to the third. And now we'll try this next term. We have 12, but again, we're going to divide out 4. So 12, divide out the 4, and we'll be left with 3. X squared, but again, we will divide out the x. X squared divided by x, and we'll be left with x to the 1. Remember that x squared divided by x to the 1 would give us x to the 1. And of course, we don't write the 1 as an exponent. It's just understood that it's there. All right, last piece. We have, again, 24, and we're going to divide out of 4. So 24, but if we divide out of 4, we get 6. 24 divided by 4 is 6. And if we look at the variables, we have x to the 1 divided by x to the 1. And of course, anything divided by itself is just a 1. So we will leave that 1 out, since 6 times 1 would just give us 6. So now we see that we actually have two simpler looking pieces that represent this polynomial instead of a fairly intimidating looking polynomial that we started with. And by the way, if we wanted to, we could check our work. I don't think we made any mistakes. But if you wanted to, if you multiplied 4x times and distributed it times this term, and then times this term, and then times this term, we should get back to the polynomial we started with. Let's see if that works. 4x, we're going to multiply that times this first term. We'll do the numbers first. 4 times, there's a 1 there, even though we didn't write it. So 4 times 1 will give us 4. And x to the 1 times x to the third will give us x to the fourth. There we go. Okay, now let's do the second term. A positive times a negative gives us a negative. 4 times 3 gives us 12. X to the 1 times x to the 1 gives us x to the 2, or x squared. Okay, last term, a positive times a positive gives us a positive. 4 times 6 gives us 24. And then finally, x, there is no x value over here, it's just a 1. So x times the 1 just gives us x. And we notice, yes, there's a perfect match. So this is indeed our polynomial with the greatest common factor factored out.